Today, we're diving into a world where the tiniest tech is unlocking the biggest cures. We're going to shrink way, way down to see how this microscopic world is about to change, well, pretty much everything.
I mean, think about it for a second. Could tiny little robots one day swim through our bodies and repair our cells from the inside? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right?
But here's the thing. It's not science fiction anymore. This is the very real and very exciting world of nanobiomedicine. We are talking about interacting with our own biology on a scale that was impossible until now.
Okay, so we hear the word nano thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Let's break down this incredible microscopic revolution. So at its core, it all starts with nanotechnology. And really, all that means is we figured out how to build and control things at the level of individual atoms and molecules. We're talking about a super specific size range between 1 and 100 nanometers. To get a handle on just how ridiculously small that is, think about this. A single strand of your hair, that's about 80,000 nanometers wide. Even one of your own red blood cells, which is already tiny, is still around 7,000 nanometers. So the nanoparticles we're talking about are thousands of times smaller than our own cells. And that tiny size is their secret weapon. It lets them go places and do things that are just impossible for bigger materials. But it's not just about being small. Something really weird and really powerful happens when things get down to this size. So why is being this small such a big deal? Well, it turns out that when you shrink materials down to the nanoscale, they start to get, well, superpowers. See, down at this level, the normal rules of physics kind of change. You get this huge amount of surface area for a tiny amount of volume, and that changes everything. Something that's normally brittle might become super strong and flexible. A material could get way better at conducting heat or even become magnetic when its bigger version isn't. And their ability to kickstart chemical reactions, it just goes through the roof. And this really gets to the heart of it. This isn't magic, it's pure physics. We're talking about strange quantum effects and these massive surface area effects taking over. These are forces you just don't see in our everyday world, but down here, they completely rewrite the playbook for how a material behaves. And that opens up a whole new universe of possibilities. Okay, so we've got these incredible little particles with all these new properties. But how do scientists and doctors actually use them? Well, let's take a look inside Nanomedicine's Smart Toolkit. And wow, what a toolkit it is. Scientists have created a whole arsenal of these nanosystems, each with a specific job. You've got things like quantum dots, which are basically tiny glowing crystals. You've got liposomes, which are like little bubbles of fat, and dendrimers, which look like microscopic trees. And what's wild is, this isn't just for some far-off future. This kind of tech is probably in some of the cosmetics you're using right now.
But one of the most game-changing uses for this whole toolkit is turning these nanoparticles into tiny little delivery drones. We can load them up with precious cargo, like powerful drugs, and send them to exactly where they need to go in the body.
Let's look at dendrimers, for example. I mean, just look at the structure. It really does look like a tiny tree, right? You've got that core in the middle and all these branches spreading out. And all those little nooks and crannies in the branches, they're the perfect hiding spots for carrying things like cancer drugs or even materials for gene therapy. Okay, and this is where it gets really clever. Scientists can attach a special targeting molecule to the outside of the nanoparticle. It's kind of like giving the medicine a GPS address and a specific key. That means it just floats around until it finds the exact right cell, like a cancer cell, and only then does it unlock and deliver its cargo. This is huge because it means healthy cells are left completely alone, which could dramatically cut down on side effects. And it's not just about treatment. It's also about finding diseases earlier and faster. Check out this incredible test for tuberculosis. It's so smart. You start with gold nanoparticles that have these little DNA probes on them, and that makes the solution look pink. Then you add the patient's sample. Now, if the TB bacteria is in there, nothing really changes. The solution stays pink. But if there's no TB, the nanoparticles all stick together. And when they do that, they change color. The solution turns purple. Just like that, you have a simple visual answer. It's all about how these tiny particles play with light. All right, so we've seen how size and shape make these particles incredibly useful. But what happens if we add another tool to the box? What if we bring electricity into the mix? This brings us to a field with a very long name, Nanobioelectrochemistry. I know, it's a mouthful, but it's really just what it sounds like, a combination of nanotech
biology, and electrochemistry. And the whole point is to build devices that can sense and interact with the molecules in our body with a level of precision we've never seen before. And one of the biggest things to come out of this is the creation of unbelievably precise biosensors. These are tiny detectors that can find one specific substance in a complex mix and give us a clear signal.
The best way to understand this is to look at a modern glucose monitor. It basically has three parts. First, there's a bioreceptor. Its only job is to find and latch onto glucose molecules, and nothing else. Then, a transducer feels that connection happen and turns it into a tiny electrical signal. And finally, you have the display, which just reads that signal and tells you the result. The whole thing happens in a blink of an eye.
So these tools are already changing the game in medicine, but believe me, that is just the beginning. The potential here is so much bigger. So let's look ahead. What's next on the nanoscale frontier?
You see, we can take these same ideas and apply them to some of the biggest challenges on the planet. I mean, imagine creating biofuel cells that can literally turn something like sugar into electricity. Or what about tiny nanosensors that can sniff out the smallest trace of a pollutant in our air or water? We're even figuring out how to take things we'd normally throw away, like farm waste, and turn it into super advanced materials for the next wave of technology.
When you step back and look at the big picture, what this all really means is that we're reaching a point where we don't just have to observe the world, we can actually start to build it from the atoms up. We are literally designing solutions, molecule by molecule, for our toughest problems.
This technology is handing us a level of control that's, well, it's unprecedented. It's a toolkit that could let us rebuild our world from the very bottom up. And that, of course, leaves us with the biggest question of all. Now that we have this power, what problem should we solve next?